Good morning, everybody. We have our free training Thursday today. Today's going to be a fun one because it's an open forum for you guys. So the idea is that you guys are going to provide us with questions that have come up, things that you want to know. Go ahead and type those into the question section of the webinar, and we're going to be getting those going. Today, my name is Brandon. I also have Shantae with me. Hey, Shantae, how's it going?
It's going very well. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here. Welcome, everyone.
Awesome. So Shantae is going to be helping me field your questions. He's going to be part of answering. Some of you guys may have even done trainings with him up to this point. So we're going to be tag teaming this one to make sure that you guys get the best answers to these questions that are being asked as possible. So a very short presentation today as far as the PowerPoint is concerned, basically just giving you guys info on how to get a hold of us. Hopefully there's a lot of questions that are coming through and we might not get to all of them. If we don't, then please don't hesitate to get in contact with us. Here's some contact information for you, abacusnext.com/support. For any training scheduling or anything like that, please visit that website. Any upcoming webinars that we might have, or any past webinars that you may have missed, you can always access them at abacusnext.com/webinars. You can see what we've done, what we're going to do, sign up for the upcoming webinars, take a look and listen to the old ones that we've done. The archived information is all there. Please feel free to go to that. That's a great source of information, even past these webinars that we're doing. It's a good idea to jump in and take a look at those. So don't hesitate for that. Also, you can always get a hold of us via our training inbox, training@officetools.com, as it is on screen here. Please do not hesitate to email us. We are experiencing kind of a high volume through that inbox right now, so it may not be within the same day that you email us that we get back to you, but we are moving through them in the order that we receive them, and we will get back to you as soon as we possibly can. So please make sure to email us any questions that come up, anything that we don't answer today, shoot to this email and we'll be more than happy to get back to you. That's really it for the presentation. Please, as we start going through this, definitely start typing in your questions. Let us know what's coming up and how we're going to move through these. That way we can make sure that we're getting all of your guys' questions answered. So, Shantae, do we have anything in there that we can answer right now?
Sure. The first question I did see is from Dan Wise, asking as far as where is the chat? Dan, as far as where you populated that question, where is the chat? Feel free to go ahead and populate your questions there, and I'll be more than happy to present this to Brandon, and we can go ahead and move forward. Heads up as well, anyone taking the course or on today's training, for any question that is presented that we do not have the answer to at the right or at this time, I'll make sure to follow up and address your question, and we'll get that answer to you. So, let me just come up to the top.
All right, so I have a, go ahead.
Go ahead. Please, go ahead, Brandon.
I was going to say, so I have one from Dan Weiss here asking about how to maximize the speed of processing on our firm network at home so that remote work makes sense. It's so much faster at work. So unfortunately, Dan, this isn't actually a training thing. This is a lot more geared towards your actual network speed when you're dialing in through your home internet. It's much more of a support thing. They might be able to help you, but most of the time, if it slows down a lot from your computer at home to from your computer at work, it's because of all the windows that you're trying to look through to get to the database, not because the database itself is slow. So not really a training issue, but please do feel free to shoot that question over to our support team. You can get there by emailing support@abacusnext.com or support@officetools.com, and they should be able to help you get that answered.
Brandon, next question. Can we restrict who the staff assigns time to, limit it to clients and not the entire contact list?
That's a good question. Typically, you don't want to limit the staff member tracking time because when they are tracking time, it's important for them to put who they are actually doing the time for. If it's more of a because people are messing up and not doing it to the right client, that's not something that we can really help. But as far as actually keeping people from tracking time against certain contacts, the only thing that we would have that would allow you to do that is one of two things. Either you can make it to where your staff can only track time against clients, meaning that anybody that's listed as a prospect, vendor, anything like that, they cannot track time against regardless. There's no granular level. It's either clients or all. Or what we do offer, which is a little bit more than probably what you're asking for, but it's a way to do it, is through what we call multi-office. That's where you can split your database out. So if you're having trouble with your staff tracking time against clients who aren't part of your specific office, if you have multiple offices, that's a way that you guys can do that. But most directly, the only thing that we have inside of OfficeTools, if you guys go to your global options, go under payroll and time, under other settings, you'll see here it says restrict time card entry to clients only. So it's the only thing that we could do. If again, if it's something where your staff is just keying in time against the wrong people, that's going to have to be managed by you guys. But you can use this option to help with that if it's becoming a really severe problem.
Thank you so much. Question was from Kim Peters. Kim Peters actually has another question here. Can we run a report of everyone we put on extension? That's the first question. Part two to that question, if in fact this is an option, how?
Gotcha. All right, Kim. So absolutely, we wouldn't offer the extension section if we were going to keep it from you. So the way that you're going to access that is actually pretty simple. But a little bit of background first. When you guys are looking at projects inside of OfficeTools, there is an extension box located over here on the right with its own due date. And when you check that box, we've been getting this question a lot, and I want to make sure that it's clear. When you check that box, just so you know, the due date in the field is going to remain the same. Okay, it doesn't change. So when you check this box, that's what moves it to first extension. So when we're talking about can we report on it, our first step to it is we have to mark this box. If we don't mark the box and we're just assuming OfficeTools knows that you put it on extension, then obviously we wouldn't be able to report on it. So what we have to do is give OfficeTools an indication that you've moved it to extension. So when you check that box, that changes the actual physical due date of the project. It's not going to change the due date in the field, but the due date of the project is now 9/18/18. So the way that you would report on it is actually going into your project reports. So if you go up to reports, drop down to project reports, and you go to due date, when you run your due date report at this point, you can change the range to include just the extension date range. And then at that point, that's going to show you the projects for that type of project that have been moved to extension. So for example, if you wanted to come over here and specify that you wanted to see all of the 1040s that were due between the dates of, just to make it simple here, the 14th and the 16th, meaning basically anything that's on extension, that will give you a list of all the projects that have been marked to extension. So that's the idea behind that. There's not a report that's going to show you which projects have the box checked. The way that you're going to report on extensions is via the updated and changed due date using the due date report.
Thank you so much, Brandon. Next question. Can we add a recurring time entry into the system? For example, if we have a business networking meeting every week, can we enter that into time so it repeats on our timesheet without having to enter it each week?
That's a good question. The answer directly is no, just due to the nature of time is a variable. It's something that you have to tell us what you did. And although you might have a recurring appointment that could last for an hour, it might not. It might go over, it might go under. So as far as the time part, since it is sensitive both to your timesheet and also to the client's billable time if possible, there is no way to enter in recurring time entries. Obviously, you probably know you can have reoccurring tasks, you can have reoccurring appointments that prompt you to track your time for it. But as far as the actual time entry itself, that's something that just due to the nature of it, you guys have to key into your timesheet manually.
Thank you. Next question, Kim Peters. Kim Peters, you're definitely on it. Love to see your questions. Next question here. How can we best upload contacts into OfficeTools from Outlook? If we have stacks of business cards, can we scan and upload? That's first question. Next question to that would be, what about from Excel? And will the system find duplicates? don't want to give you too much because there is more to that question, but let's start there, Brendan, if that's okay. If I need to repeat that, I'll be more than happy to do so.
Yeah, the best way to upload contacts into OfficeTools depends on the source. If they're in Outlook, typically we don't recommend that you bring them in from Outlook. Typically, you're going to want to use an Excel template to get documents or to get clients into OfficeTools. There's no other method outside of direct integration with software. So as far as like scanning business cards or anything like that, the answer is no. We don't have like an OCR or anything like that that's recognizing characters and changing it into fields. So typically, if you have continual additions that are being added via marketing or that type of thing to your database, they should come into OfficeTools via an Excel format. As far as recognizing duplicates, that would be based around whether the company name that ends up in the spreadsheet is an exact match to what is already in OfficeTools. If that's the case, then yes, it'll know that it's a duplicate and it will add it under as an additional contact. But if there is any discrepancy between the name in the spreadsheet and the name in OfficeTools, it will not assume that it is a duplicate and it will add it in as an additional contact. So you got to make sure that you guys are keeping up to that if you're doing constant data imports, again, for acquiring contact lists or doing marketing campaigns or that type of thing. But Excel is going to be your best method for that type of thing. Obviously, you can bring in contacts from Outlook, but it's not recommended just due to the nature of the data in Outlook and the fact that you can really put anything anywhere. Lacert, QuickBooks, and a couple other places like Profile, that type of thing. But as far as a constant and updated contact list into OfficeTools, that's going to be happening through Excel, and it can recognize duplicates if they are exact.
Thank you so much. Next question is from Barbara. Is it possible to filter projects by category? For example, tax, bookkeeping, payroll, etc.
If we're talking about reports and that's how we're trying to look at them, then there is a possibility for you to grab the specific types of projects that you would like to see. On screen, the answer is no. These are going to be driven based on the due date. So you can't filter out of this other than going in and specifically looking for specific projects. But it's not a grouping at that point based on tax or that type of thing. It's based specifically around the project that you're typing in. As far as reporting on it, though, if you wanted to come into your project reports and you were looking to get a list of all of the tax projects that you do, then you could come into the type section under project selection and build that out. You can choose all the ones that you want. And that's pretty much the options that we have for you. Normally, when you're reporting on things and searching for things, it tends to be centered around the due date, not around the type of job it is. So we didn't give a lot of things inside of there. There are some workarounds, Barbara. If you know you really need it, we could figure out how to get it for you. But overall and in general, this is going to be something that is more based around due date. You can still manually pick the types of projects you want to report on at a specific time, but there is no specific way to go in there and say, I just want to see all my tax projects. Because again, most of the time it's either client specific or we're talking specific due dates.
Great. Next question comes from Jackie. When original documents come, give me one moment here, I'm scrolling down to the question. When original documents come in, they are placed in a numbered whip hanging folder. They remain in that folder as the project travels through the Office process. Because the location field would have to be correctly re-entered each time an assignment is made, we have been using the account number field to track the folder that the project resides in. Can I get the account number field to show up on my project reports in place of the location column?
I like the ending of that. I don't really understand it, but hey, that's cool. So let me take a look at this project report. To be honest with you, I'm not 100% sure. Most of the time, account numbers, if you have them turned on, show in the left-hand column, but they don't typically go onto reports because, again, it's not really meant to be something that's used dynamically. It's something that's supposed to be assigned to the client once, and that's it, and that's all it is. It's identification number for the client itself. But if we look at like our due date reports here, I don't see anything over here. I'm just checking based around account number, which I didn't think would be. You can typically put in as your primary sort account number. That might change the column information, but I'm not 100% sure. You'd have to check that inside of there using your primary sort as account number. But to be clear and to answer the question directly, there is no substitution for columns on the report. The report is the report. The data that's there is the data you get. The columns that we have are the columns that you will have. As far as ordering the information or sorting the information, you have a chance. But again, because that's a very, very, very out there use of the account number field, we might not have the functionality that you're looking for in that. And while we're about halfway through, I do want to bring up as I answer these questions, if I'm not giving you the answer that you want and you think that there's something that we can improve on or something that you'd like to see added, I just want to bring your attention to this suggestions field inside of here, because right now the way that we are going to start doing our enhancement requests is via suggestions. And that is an upvoting system where you guys as clients can go look at what other people are suggesting is being put into the system and vote on them. And the higher the upvotes that we get, the more likely that we'll put that item into the program. So if I'm not giving you the answer that you're looking for and you think that there's something that we might be missing, please feel free to let us know that. Our system has always been built by accountants for accountants. We've tried to go into other industries, but any feedback that you guys have for us, we take seriously because that's how we've always built the program. So again, if I'm not answering your question in the way that you think I should, please feel free to go into the suggestions area and type out the feature that you want to see and how you'd like it to work and let your peers vote on it for you. That way we can go ahead and get that into the program.
Next question from Jackie. Texas levies sales tax on bookkeeping, posting and reconciliations, but not on tax prep and consulting. I have VIP clients who pay 1 month prices for everything. I've struggled with getting the invoice right since only part of the monthly fee is taxable. In some months, we only do bookkeeping, and others, we have a mix of taxable bookkeeping and other non-taxable services. Automatic invoices don't work for this. I am reduced to invoicing the taxable, give me one moment, taxable services on a separate monthly invoice and then letting a retainer for each monthly payment accumulate until we perform some of the non-taxable services. When payments get misapplied, it can cause hours of unapplying and reworking payment application. Is there a better way? Signed, Jackie.
All right, Jackie. So obviously that's kind of a long question, and there's a lot involved in that. I would highly recommend that you schedule an actual session with the trainer to go through that. The most obvious answer to this is not really, just due to the nature of how our invoicing system works. Taxable things are based around time, and when you're doing reoccurring invoicing, it's still based around time. So we can dive in it together. We can come up with something that works better than what you're doing. But right now, there's nothing I can quickly say, oh, sure, this is how you fix a sales tax issue. It's something we'll have to dive in on an individual basis. So please reach out to us. We can either discuss further via email, or we can schedule up a training session to dive into that specific issue.
Thank you, Brandon. Next question. How can I view the tax due date for 3/15, 4/15, 9/15, 10/15 on project reports? And as I say, 3/15, 4/15, 9/15, 10/15, 10/15 being the dates.
Gotcha. Well, I'm not sure that I fully understand the issue here because the due date report itself does display the due date. You just need to make sure if you're looking for all those dates on one specific report that you open up the date range all the way through all of those dates. When you run your project reports inside of OfficeTools, it's kind of hidden up here at the top, but this is where you need to select the date range that you want to see. And then the report should show you, when you run that report, all of the due dates that fall within that date range. So just as a kind of test here, we'll go back to September, and then we'll just choose this one company so that you can see this. And then we'll do ABC here. And when we run this report, we'll let this load up. The due dates are in their own column. So you should be able to see all of the due dates for all of the projects that fall within that date range. Eventually, webinars always tend to slow my OfficeTools down a little bit, Shante. I don't get it.
Just want you to work a little bit forward. That's all. Brandon, you're doing wonderful.
Yeah. Thanks. So you can see on here, there on the due date report, there's a due column with the due date specifically centered right there. So if that's not your question, Genial, then please feel free to rephrase, and maybe we can get back around to it. If not, email in with a rephrased question there if I didn't answer this, and we'll be more than happy to get that squared away for you.
Next question comes in from Becca. Is there a way to restore a QuickBooks file from within OfficeTools?
So Becca, our document management system is just a shortcut management system. It's not an actual document viewer. It's not an actual document storage. The only thing that we have is a shortcut back to the physical file itself inside of your server or wherever you're housing your documents. So typically the answer is no. But that being said, if you're transferring or receiving your QuickBooks files via the portal, then you're kind of stuck because you're going to get the backup copy through the portal into OfficeTools. But if you're getting it a different way, via thumb drive or something like that, then typically what happens is that you restore it first, then put it in OfficeTools. But the direct answer is that since we're not actually managing the physical files itself, all we have is a shortcut back to it. There's no way to do anything inside of OfficeTools. You click on the shortcut, it opens in the program that it was supposed to open in. So the most obvious answer here is no. There's no way to actually restore the backup from OfficeTools because the OfficeTools doesn't even have the backup.
Great. Next question from Barbara. How do we best utilize the expense function with clients or with client billing? We want to use it to enter monthly subscriptions that each client uses. HubDoc, QuickBooks. What is the best way to do that? How do we record client expense such as Intuit, QuickBooks, wholesale billing?
So basically, when it comes down to it, Barbara, there's three different ways of getting an expense into OfficeTools. The number one is obvious, which is just entering it in on the time tab. So when you go in, you can always enter an expense at any point in time for any client that has a time entry. And the time entry can be 0 hours, but they have to be on your timesheet here. That's obvious. That's number one. Number two is if you guys are creating reoccurring billing and you're running a monthly invoice, inside of here, when you're creating that reoccurring invoice, you can actually set it up to automatically charge an expense. And that can be for a set dollar amount, for a set thing. So you can build that right into the invoice. And whatever amount you end up putting here is added to their $500 in this case. So it's added to their monthly cost. Okay? So that's an option two. The third option is actually something that's relatively new that we added, which can be accessed from the project definition, which I thought was kind of interesting when we did that. But from a 1040, for example, under the billing options, you can automatically add an expense item to the invoice that's created for this project by plugging it in here. So you either manually enter it on your timesheet, you set it up as part of your recurring invoice, or you set it as part of a service. So anytime that project happens, you get this specific expense item. And that's really the three as far as that's concerned. Just remember, inside of OfficeTools, in order to have an expense, you have to show the expense to the client. There is no way to build it into the total without showing it somewhere on the invoice. So just keep that in mind. Each of these three options is going to display a section at the bottom of your invoice that explains what the expenses are for. So if you guys have more questions on that, or you want a little bit more thorough of a rundown, please reach out to us and we can get in to your specific nitty-gritty at a different time.
I have a chuckle from Kim Peters in reference to your response. I just wanted to make note of that. Next question comes
I like Kim.
Oh, yeah. Next question comes from Judy. Can you have multiple portal logins for one client contact? For example, taxpayer and spouse.
All right, Judy. So right now, the way that the portal is set up is that the answer is no. Each entity in your contact list on the left-hand side gets one portal login, and that's it. So a husband and a wife, they would have to share the login information.
Next question comes from Tarina. Our documents tab is not matching to what our documents tab is not matching to what is saved on our server. Is there a way to unlink the documents and start over? I would like to redrag and drop items.
Tarina, that seems like a bigger problem. So what I would recommend is that you do contact us so we can take a look. I'd hate to give you advice in a webinar format with one simple question and then have you ruin the document management system. So I would highly recommend you get in contact with us. However, all you would really need to do in order to fix the document management system is go in under the Documents tab, hit View All Contacts in the bottom left, go up to the plus sign, and hit Reindex Documents, which will basically go through and rebuild the shortcuts anywhere that they exist inside of the folder structure that you have on the back end and put them in OfficeTools. So it basically just rebuilds all the shortcuts for any document you have in that folder structure, which should fix your problem. I do not think that you need to take it upon yourself to drag and drop all the files back into the program. There's different ways that we can do it without having to do that manual process. So reindexing comes to mind first. But like I said, I wouldn't just do it. I would definitely contact us so we can take a look with you and see what's going on, because it sounds like there's a bigger problem at hand. So please, that's the answer. But again, reach out to us.
Next question, moving a little quick here. Is there an easy way to find a project that has no current status but was not completed? For example, a staff person checks the completed box by mistake and did not forward the project to the next step. Is there an easy way to find projects that have no current status?
All right, Judy. So two things on this one. Number one, checking it off your list by accident can sometimes happen, but should obviously be very rare. But that being said, two things will pop up immediately when the box is checked off. Number one is a time card. So obviously you'd have to cancel out of that time card to even move on to the next step. So if you did it by accident, obviously would know at that point. Number two is that the Create New Assignment window pops up. And at that point, you have to do something. So if I checked it off by accident, I'm still purposefully deciding not to move it forward by hitting the button in the middle that says Continue. And when you hit that button in the middle that says Continue, it will say, this project will be moved to no current status. Are you sure? And then that staff will also have to then click Yes. So accidental is not an excuse for this to be happening, because there are too many safeguards in place to make that happen. If you hit cancel in that Create New Assignment window, it goes back to the previous step. If you hit OK and there's no staff, it goes back to the previous step. So the only way to get it to no current status is by clicking Continue and then saying that you want it to go to no current status. So just to throw that out there. But the answer to the question is your current status report. You should be able to choose no current status inside of there to get the projects that are sitting in that status. So if you go to your report section, under project reports, you run a current status report. Under the assignment section, you'll see that there's an option for no current status in there. 1 minute, Shante.
Sure. Next question comes from Karina. Can you please explain the different statuses and manage requests for e-signature? And I do believe what Karina is referring to here would be in reference to viewed, sent versus email sent.
Yeah, so inside the manage request sections inside of OfficeTools, there are different statuses as far as the e-signature goes. Active means that it's live. It has not been signed yet, but the client has it. Declined means that the client has specifically said that they will not be e-signing that. Expired means that it's been more than 30 days and that document no longer is available to be signed, but was never signed. And complete means that you did sign it and it got back to you with all the signatures in there.
Great. I can sum these two questions together real quick based on time. Isabel, other than email notification to the staff member who uploaded a particular document to a client portal, how can we tell if the client opened the document? And then two, to another question, this is Kimberly. The last question using account, or excuse me, actually Judy, I don't have the suggestion button. What version of the program should I be on? So if we come first to Isabel, other than the email notification to staff members who upload a particular document to a client, how can we tell if the client has opened the document?
Yeah, the only thing that we give you the opportunity of knowing is whether the client has downloaded the file or not, and that goes back to the person who is running the portal, whoever's email address that is. That's all that there is. There's nothing that says that they opened it or anything like that, because they can't open it in the portal. They can only download it. So that's the only email that will come back, and there's no indication that that's going to happen. So like inside the portal, you can't go in and look and see if clients have downloaded it or not. That's not an option right now. Just the email that gets turned on and sent out, that's it. As far as the version that you guys should be on, that should be 2018.059. If you're not on that version and you don't have suggestions, click under Help inside of your program and go to Check for Updates on the web, and that should get you guys the newest, updated, and greatest form of Office tools. We are 2 minutes past, guys. Thank you very much for your participation. We will start implementing this specific format a lot more often because it does seem very popular. Please, if we didn't get to your question, email them into training@officetools.com. We'll be more than happy to get them situated. If I did tell you guys to go ahead and schedule a session, please reach out to us so we can get that session scheduled. That way we can dive into your individual questions. Shantae, thank you very much for joining us. I appreciate that. Do you have any last minute words there for the audience?
Oh, yes, I do, for sure. And I'll just sum it up real quick. More than anything, I have been receiving some feedback. It is too easy to go ahead. It's too easy to respond with yes or no. Brandon, it is much appreciated the way you are responding to these questions, also providing wonderful examples. I can pretty much say that that's pretty much across the board. So thank you. Thank everyone for joining as well.
All right, guys. Definitely tune in. Abacus Next /webinars. See the upcoming schedule. Dive into the next ones. Get in contact with us. And thank you guys very much for joining today's Free Training Thursday. It'll be replayed and posted back so you guys can listen to it. And we're signing off for now. Thanks, guys.